Hey friends, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan and welcome to week 3 of the Pantry Challenge. This past weekend, Sam and I were out visiting some of our family and it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so we had work off. So today is actually Tuesday when I got back into town. I am going to take you along with all of my meals and I'm super excited for some of them. We are going to change up breakfast for the first time in 3 weeks, so that's super exciting. But tonight I am making a elk vegetable stew. So without further ado, let's get that going. It's snowing outside and ooh, this just sounded so hearty and so homey. And okay, let's get going. All right, so here I just have some elk and some avocado oil heating up. Nope, olive oil. And I'm just going to spread them out so we can get them brown. And now that they're spread, don't move them. We want to get them all browned up on both sides. I am going to put down a little salt and a bit of pepper. And then I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes on this side and then we'll flip them to the other side. Alright, that's perfect. So you can see the brown at the bottom and then the browning on the meat. That's all I want for now. So I'm going to remove this from the heat. And then I'm actually going to put the meat into a bowl for now. We'll add it back in to finish cooking later. And now let's get our vegetables going. Alright, so first for our veg, we're going to start with carrots and onions. You would want to do celery too if you have them at this point. But great spot. I do not, so I'm just going to do carrots and onion and then maybe I'll put a little celery powder in. So I'm just going to peel my carrots. And then you can just cut your carrots to whatever size you want them. I'm just going to cut that in half. And you do want your vegetables to be pretty consistent in size. That way they all cook at the same rate. And then we're going to cut up our onion. So, and I am going to save these scraps because I'm hoping to make some chicken noodle soup or broth out of them. So I'm going to save them and I just have a freezer bag going where I'll just add them to that freezer bag. And I did drop this onion on the floor when I was grabbing it, so yeah, I accidentally damaged it a little bit, so we're going to need to go one layer deeper. Sorry, onion. Reckless. Alrighty. Luckily that won't go to waste since we're making a chicken noodle soup out of it soon. Okay, now let's get this over to the heat. Alright, our oil is hot. I'm going to add in the vegetables. And then we're going to let that cook for a couple minutes. Add in some salt. That'll help draw out the liquid from the vegetables, which will then help us get the brown bits off the bottom. And some pepper. Alright, I'm going to just throw my garlic in. And this is kind of old garlic, so that's right. And I'm just going to let that cook in there for about 1 minute. And now I'm going to throw the meat back in. I'm adding in a little bit of freeze-dried basil. If you've never used freeze-dried, it's so much better than the normal. Just let that cook in there for a minute. And then I'm just going to throw in a tiny bit of oregano. I don't love oregano, so just a little. Alright, we're getting pretty brown, so I'm going to add in the tomatoes. This is just canned, diced tomatoes. I would prefer if these were from my garden, but our tomatoes just didn't do that great this year. Gonna give that a good stir. I'm also going to add in 1 box of chicken stock. Again, ours is. See how well that just cleans the bottom? It's awesome. Ours is just from the store because we don't raise chickens or anything. And if you had time, I would add that in too, but I don't have any, so we're not going to. I'm going to bring this up to a boil. All right, friends, while our dinner is boiling away, I am going to get going on our breakfast for the next couple days. So I am just making overnight oats, and I do warm these up in the morning. So basically all you have to do is just put all your ingredients into a jar, let them sit, and then they'll be ready to go in the morning. So I usually do equal parts milk and oats. You can also use water if you want. This is a 1/2 cup. But because I still have these Greek yogurt, I'm going to split 1 Greek yogurt between the 2 of them. So let me just get this mixed up. And that's going to help get our protein content up. One thing with overnight oats or baked oatmeals or anything like that is you want to make sure you're putting some kind of protein in them, whether it be eggs, peanut butter, yogurt. Doesn't really matter, but I know a lot of people that just eat overnight oats and they'll just do like milk, water, banana, oats, and you're not getting much protein out of it. So I'm gonna do the Greek yogurt. And when I don't use Greek yogurt, I will normally use this. It's just a non-flavored protein. When I was training for Miss USA, our trainer had us using this. It's actually pretty good. The scoop serving is pretty small compared to a lot of protein. So it's just that big, which is pretty dang small for protein. You just use 1 scoop and it's like 15 grams of protein or something. So I can link this down below. It's not flavored, not sweet at all. You really don't even know it's there. So then I'm going to add in some milk. And then for a little extra sweetness, I'm gonna put some of our strawberry rhubarb jam, yum, in here as well. Just a little bit. I don't need it to be crazy sweet. And then I'm just gonna take some of these frozen strawberries that we have left over from when we made our strawberry rhubarb jam. And they are all kind of stuck together, which is why I really want to get them out of the freezer. And I'm just going to put a couple strawberries per container. Perfect. And then what I like to do in the morning is top it with a little bit of peanut butter. I know that sounds like a crazy combination, strawberries and peanut butter, but it's actually really good. It's kind of like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So there is our overnight oats. You just want to make sure you have enough liquid covering all of your oats. So I might actually add a little more. And then I like to give my oats just a pinch of salt. I feel like it really helps with the flavor. If you are adding a lot of peanut butter, that will get the salt in there, so just be careful there. But I'm going to throw the lid on these. That's literally it. I'll keep them in the refrigerator for a couple days or until I decide I want them, and then I just put them in the microwave for like 2 minutes, and you've got yourself an easy breakfast. So our soup has been boiling away. I'm gonna add, just because I just now found this, a little bit of this freeze-dried parsley. Again, if you've never used the freeze-dried spices, I'll link it. I just got mine off of Amazon, but I think they carry it at Sam's Club as well. And the flavor of freeze-dried is just so much better. Like when you smell it, when you taste it, it actually tastes like the herb because it's freeze-dried. It's not, when you dehydrate things, it cooks it a little bit, so it kind of can change the texture and the taste. But these freeze-dried herbs are just so much stronger. They actually taste like the real food, like it's an actual replacement for a fresh. So I love that. So next I'm going to add in our potatoes. These are garden potatoes that I just peeled and diced up. Perfect. I'm gonna stir that in. And then we're just gonna let that boil for about 15 minutes or until our potatoes are nice and tender. So our potatoes are about halfway cooked, so I'm going to add in our green beans now. These are just green beans that I took the stem off of and blanched before freezing, and these are out of the garden. So I'm just, breaking them in half because I blanched them large and I don't want huge green beans in my soup. So I'm just going to add in a couple handfuls, oh gosh, it's kind of hard, of green beans into our soup. And then I'm just going to let these defrost a little bit and cook down while the potatoes finish cooking. Okay, I think that's good enough. We're going to let this cook down a little bit, and then I will add in our corn and okra, and I think that's it. Whatever other vegetables I find in the freezer. Okay, our potatoes are done. The way I know is when I poke them with a fork, they are tender. So that is perfect. So now I'm just going to throw in our really fast cooking items. So I found some squash that I had cut up and preserved from the garden this year. So I'm going to throw some of that in. That'll break apart. Then we have some corn from our neighbor's garden last year. Throw some of that in. And then we have some of our okra preserved from our garden this year. And I think okra is super underrated. It's so yummy and just adds some really good flavors to soups and all sorts of things. So I'm just going to bury those and then let those cook down for just a couple of minutes. And then we'll be ready to eat. All right, here is our dinner. Should I get some of that elk? Yum. And then I did grab one of our brioche bun rolls from our freezer making day. And so I am going to eat that on the side. I also do like to add hot sauce. This is the only hot sauce we have in the house right now. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of that. And there's dinner. And welcome back. It is currently Thursday evening and I am still just cooking for one. I have literally been eating soup leftovers for every meal except for breakfast. We've been having oatmeal. I am really in the mood for something kind of fresh and different, so I'm gonna make like a steak spring roll type thing with a peanut dipping sauce. I don't have that many fresh vegetables, but I do have a little bit of lettuce and a couple carrots, and so I found some mandarin oranges. So I think that's gonna be perfect. We'll be able to kind of stuff our spring rolls with the steak and with those fruits and vegetables. So I'm getting the steak cooked behind me, and then we will get these spring rolls assembled. All right, for our peanut dipping sauce, I am gonna tweak it a little bit because I don't have all the ingredients because we're in the pantry challenge, but we're gonna do our best. What I don't have is hoisin sauce, so I'm gonna use teriyaki instead. They're very different, but whatever. It'll give us a little sweetness. And then the other thing is chili garlic paste. I don't have that, but I have chili sauce, so I figure I'm gonna add a little sriracha and add a little bit of garlic powder. It's the best we can do. So, first thing I'm gonna do is add a third of a cup of peanut butter. Yesterday I was stirring the peanut butter and I sprayed it because I just wanted to eat like a spoon of peanut butter. And I spilled the jar and it dumped everywhere. It was a mess. Okay. I'm gonna eyeball a third of a cup because I don't want to get a measuring spoon out. I'm gonna go ahead and microwave this for like 30 seconds just so that it stirs a lot easier. Alrighty. Gonna give that a quick stir. Alright, that looks much better. To this, I'm now gonna add 1.5 tablespoons of hoisin. I'm just gonna do a little bit of teriyaki, I don't wanna mess it up, but I think it'll bring a little sweetness to it. We can always add more. 1 tablespoon of lime juice. Two teaspoons of soy sauce. This is clearly very exact. 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. 1 teaspoon of the chili garlic. And then I'm just gonna add in a little roasted garlic. Alrighty. Then we're gonna give that a mix, and I do have some water, and we'll use the water to, it smells really good already. We'll use the water to just thin it out if we need to. Okay, I'm gonna give that a taste. Yum! I'm gonna add just a little bit more soy, a little bit more sugar. Whoa, that's a lot of sugar. Okay. And some water. And I want this like a dipping sauce, so I'm gonna go just a little bit thinner. I'll get this all mixed up and then we can move on to assembling. All right, it's time to start assembling. So here are the rice paper brand that I use. Okay, so all we're gonna do is first you wanna just check and make sure it's not broken. It's not. So in here I just have some warm water and we're just gonna fully submerge it into the warm water for literally like 5 seconds. And then you're gonna go ahead and pull it out. It'll still be pretty hard, and that's okay. Then you're gonna lay in your ingredients. So I'm gonna lay in our lettuce is like the bottom. And then I'm gonna put our steak on top. Look how perfect that turned out. I am trying to get better at like my grilling abilities. Sam's always the griller, and so I'm trying to, you know, step up my game a little bit. And then these are just carrots. I literally took a peel or two, then a couple mandarin oranges. If I was going to the grocery store, I would put mangoes in here. I love mangoes. And then I'm just gonna do a little drizzle of the sauce. Perfect. And then what I do is I fold it over and then kind of try to get it a little tight. Fold over one side and see how much looser this has gotten just in the time that we've taken to make them. It's crazy. And then you want these to be pretty tight in there. So I'm just going to roll it, and there you have your spring roll. All right, we have our sauce all served up, and then I will just go ahead and dip our spring rolls in them. So that is it for tonight. This is looking awesome. I'm starving. I'm gonna go eat. Hey friends, and welcome back. It is Sunday evening. Sam and I just got back from taking the goats on a long adventure, so it was nice and chilly, so we are going to have something warm and cozy for dinner. So we are going to make butternut squash gnocchi using the butternut squash that we preserved together, and then I'm gonna make like a sage butter sauce out of some of our maple elk breakfast sausage. So I'm super excited. So we're starving, so let's get this going. All right, so for this, I just laid out 2 bags. So one of them I wrote how much was in it. The other one I didn't. So this bag, I'm not sure how much is in here. This bag is 2.5 pounds. So if you're using fresh butternut, you're gonna just wanna bake this until it is soft and you can get it out. And then we're just gonna go ahead and blend it until it's totally smooth. Because it's so full, I'm just gonna give it a little mix. And I think the stuff that's really smooth already, since it's so full, I'm just gonna move into our nonstick pan. Perfect, so that gave us a lot more room, so I'm gonna keep blending. Alright, so that's the texture we're looking for when I run my spatula over it. See how smooth that gets? That's exactly what we want. So I'm going to dump it all into a nonstick saucepan. Alrighty, so that is all done. I'm going to put this over medium heat now for about 15 or so minutes, continuing to stir it so that we can get all of the water and moisture to cook out. Alright, next I'm just going to cut up an onion. And this onion is going to be used for our meat. So we're gonna try and use some of that maple sausage that we had in the freezer during the freezer pantry tour I took you through. So I'm super excited to try this. We've never tried it before. And I thought, what better way to try this meat than to make a really fun recipe out of the squash that came from our garden. So I'm super excited to be trying that. So I'm just going to dice these up. There is all of our onion. That looks perfect. I'm going to go get the oil in the pan going and then we can get these cooked up. Alright, so to our pan I'm just going to add in a little bit of olive oil. And you do want to make sure you're stirring your butternut squash pretty constantly just to make sure it's not burning. We're not trying to cook it, we're just trying to get the water out. Alright, our olive oil is pretty warm, so I'm just going to add in the onions. And then I'm just going to give them a nice sprinkle of salt. And I'm just going to let these cook down for just a minute. Alright, I'm going to call this good on the butternut squash. See how I can pick it up with a spoon and it doesn't fall off? That's about good. You want it to be about the texture of like a mashed potato before you add in like all of the cream and butter and all of that. So I'm going to call this good. I'm going to go... Now you just want it to cool down so you don't burn yourself when you're actually making the dough. So I'm going to just go set this outside with a lid on it for a couple minutes so it can cool down. Alright, our onions are pretty translucent, so I'm just going to throw in our meat. I'm just going to break that up a little bit. And this is that maple elk sausage. I'm super excited to try it. Alright, my meat is fully browned, and I mean like browned, not just turned brown, like we're getting caramelization on it, so I'm going to remove this from the heat. Alright, we are going to get going on our gnocchi. So I want 1 cup of butternut squash packed. And what I'm going to do is since I've never made this before, so I'm going to make it, make sure we like it, and then if we like it, then I'm going to make the rest of it later tonight with the rest of the gnocchi. Or with the rest of the butternut squash. Okay, perfect. So here's our 1 cup, maybe a little more. To our butternut squash, we're gonna add 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. We are gonna add 1 1/4 cup of flour. And then about 1/4 teaspoon or so of salt. Just a little bit of nutmeg. If you have fresh nutmeg, that's gonna be better, but we don't. It smells so good. And then 3/4 cups of Parmesan cheese. That's why between the eggs and the cheese, we want this to be pretty cool before we put it in, because we don't want to scramble the egg or melt the cheese all that much. So we're just going to combine all this in the bowl to the best of our ability. All right. So here is our dough. I am just kneading it really quickly, just on a little bit of flour. It's still kind of sticky. You can see it's sticking, but I've added like an extra cup of flour, so I'm worried if I continue adding in too much, it's just gonna become a mess. Get that all done, and then put that back into the bowl of flour. All right, here is our final dough. It's looking perfect, except for one little thing. I just read the recipe further, and you're supposed to let it sit for 4 hours or overnight. So luckily this is gonna be great. We have a jump start on our dinner for tomorrow, but I need to feed us tonight. So I had frozen some of our sweet pork and black beans when we had some of the leftovers. So what we're gonna do is just defrost this. We have some tortilla chips and some cheddar cheese. We're gonna make sweet pork nachos and make the best out of this. So we're gonna change directions and head that way instead. All right, you guys, and that was a bit of a change, but that is the end of our pantry challenge for week 3. We move on to week 4 tomorrow, so we'll start off strong with our butternut gnocchi. And I'm really actually looking forward to this meal. I think that's the fun part about cooking. It teaches us to be flexible and to always just kind of adapt with whatever is thrown at us. So I think this was just a great representation, and we were able to pull something together in literally 10 minutes. So Sam and I are going to go ahead and get this eaten. I'm gonna grab some sour cream out for us to dip it in, and that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you haven't, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss another pantry challenge, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.